One way of describing this is to say our story is quite literally a birth. We've had 15 billion years of evolution in the womb here, and now we're finally becoming one whole system. We're integrating, as we said before, we're putting our little bodies out into outer space, and we are actually being born. The period of our birth, you could say the signal that the species is ready to be born, was the birth of Jesus Christ, because he is the fully human. He was the first human cell to manifest the capacities of post-natal humanity, what we will be like after this period, what our species will be like after the transition from self-centered womb life to whole-centered, God-centered, universal life. He began the labor to transcend. His acts triggered the capacities of love of life and its twin offsprings, science and democracy. And science is the mind's understanding of nature, and democracy is the idea of the sacredness of the individual. The labor then began 2,000 years ago. The birth pangs intensified with the explosion of the atomic bomb in 1945. That was the signal that humanity could destroy its womb or co-create new worlds on Earth, new worlds in space. It is the mature power of a godlike species. An irresistible birth process began. We had to go forward to become a godlike species or destroy ourselves in the process of birth. We entered the birth canal. The meta-crisis of limits began. And here the analogy is quite accurate. In the womb, a baby can't continue to grow. There's a resource shortage, a space shortage, a shortage of everything. Overpopulation, pollution, alienation, confusion, malaise about the future, disconnection with the past. The experts with a womb perspective advocated a return to the simpler past, an adaptation to limits. There's this marvelous dialogue someone told about of a fetal scientist in the womb in the 8th month, predicting that by the 9th month there'd be massive overcrowding, and by the 10th month there'd be destruction of the environment, and by the 11th month the organism would die. But the fetal scientist didn't know about birth. So many of the experts right around the 60s and 70s were saying, our problem is that we have to return to the past limits. What they didn't realize is that the species is being born to universal life, and there's no way to go back again. Futurists wrote of a paradigm shift from self-centered to whole-centered thinking. Evolutionaries like me evangelized the extended gospel of Christ's capacities for all. There was a great argument going on because nobody knew what was happening. Simultaneously, these capacities turned on. They include astronautics. We penetrated our womb out into space. Genetics. That meant we begin to understand the design of our bodies. The biological revolution is going to change bodies. It already is. Longevity, aging, life extension. Cybernetics and robotics. That is the capacity to do work with no effort. When Jesus said, look at the lilies in the field, how they grow and they toil not. We are going to be released from work by the sweat of our brow. In 1957, we first penetrated the cosmic womb. Sputnik signaled to all that life was no longer limited to the terrestrial world. We learned to communicate with our own genetic code, to build new bodies, and to extend our mind bodies into intelligent machines. From space, we reacted with joy at the image of ourselves as one. One body struggling to coordinate and reaching beyond ourselves for new life. This is not a metaphor, this is real. The pain of birth intensified. Attention was withdrawn from attraction to new capacities to the complexity of surviving and managing as a planetary system in which 2/3 of the members are undernourished. The tribulations of birth increased, and at the same time, many cells began to cooperate to flow with the forces of the birth. They began to restore the earth. That's the whole environmental movement. 1969 was Earth Day, and it was the day we landed on the moon. The very same year that we became a universal species, we began to restore our earth. At least $1 billion is now flowing into Africa. The problem is we don't know how to utilize it there yet, so it isn't fulfilling its mission. But there's no question we have a consciousness that if there's starvation in Africa or India, it's in our body. Educating everyone to the good news of the newly discovered capacities. If you don't know that you have capacities to feed, house, and clothe everyone, then you can accept hunger. But once you know that it's not inevitable, you cannot accept it anymore. And building the post-natal capacities, which include living in space. You see, we are going to have space habitats made out of non-terrestrial resources, lunar materials, solar energy, asteroids. These are literally Earth-independent worlds. Extending our lifespan, cybernating the tasks of maintenance. Most of us now spend a lot of time maintaining the system. That can be handed over to intelligent machines. And in the past, most of us had to have maximum reproduction, maximum number of babies in order for enough to survive. So as women have fewer children and men are released from the repetitive work of maintaining, what's happening is we're freeing the unique creativity of the individual and possibly contacting other life which has survived its planetary birth. And perhaps one of the reasons we have not yet contacted extraterrestrial life is we've been in the womb. Just as a baby can't see in the womb, our species cannot see other life yet. But we've had these UFOs, we've had glimpses. We have barely opened our eyes. We barely remember we are born. We can hardly believe the good news foretold in the New Testament that we are to have life everlasting in partnership with God in a universe of many mansions. And here's what the text says. The destiny of all kingdoms of life on earth is to develop the capacity to reproduce earth life in the universe, seeding the universe with new worlds that carry information concerning all the acts of earth, its atomic acts, its molecular acts, its cellular acts, its animal and plant acts, its human acts, its cultural history, and to restore Mother Earth after she has given birth to universal life. The thought here is that in order for any organism to show that it's alive, it has the capacity to reproduce itself. And that planet Earth is in fact Gaia, a living organism. And in its early space program, it is the very earliest phase of creating seed pods. And what will go in those seed pods are replicas of all of Earth life.